Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Today I want to talk about the Insurrection Act and martial law and whether Trump could actually go down this road. As we heard over the last few weeks, there are quite a number of Trump supporters who have been encouraging the president to invoke the Insurrection Act or even declare martial law in order to overturn the results of the election. The Insurrection Act, passed back in 1807, allows for the use of active duty or National Guard troops for federal law enforcement. The justification for invoking the act would be that it's impossible to enforce the laws of the United States by ordinary means because of rebellion against authority. The purpose of the Insurrection Act is to enforce the law, not replace it. So in and of itself, this could not be used to overturn the election, as Trump supporters seem to think. Martial law is a bit different and is not the same as the Insurrection Act. Whereas the purpose of the Insurrection Act is to enforce the law, the person declaring martial law is essentially saying that they are the law. In fact, martial law isn't even described or confined or limited in any way by the Constitution. But while no precise definition of martial law exists, a precedent for it exists where civil liberties were suspended, such as the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, freedom of association, and freedom of movement. Notorious examples include Abraham Lincoln suspending habeas corpus in the Civil War, FDR's internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, and George W. Bush's programs of warrantless wiretapping and torture after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So the idea of Trump declaring martial law, as far-fetched as it might sound, is something that could result in the election being overturned. One of the more prominent voices on the right urging Trump to declare martial law is none other than former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. What makes this even more concerning is because not only has Michael Flynn been promoting the idea that Trump should declare martial law to, in his words, rerun the election in swing states, but Trump and Flynn actually met in the White House yesterday to discuss Flynn's idea. Again, just let that sink in. The President of the United States met with his former National Security Advisor to discuss the idea of how to redo the elections in the swing states that the President lost. Once again, something stunning comes from the Trump White House. Here's where this might come into play. On January 5th, we will have the Georgia special elections, with the results determining who will control the U.S. Senate, the Democrats or the Republicans. In one race, we will have Senator David Perdue, a Republican, versus Democratic challenger Jon Ossoff. In the other race, we have Senator Kelly Loeffler, a Republican, versus Democrat Raphael Warnock. Imagine, if you will, that both Democrats win the Georgia special elections. Imagine the following outrage and anger that will reverberate across this country among conservatives as they accuse the Democrats of again stealing an election. Remember, according to several polls, close to 70% of Republicans now believe that the November elections were stolen from Trump. Now they'll think that yet another election is stolen. This outrage at the results of the Georgia special elections will begin to build the night of January 5th as polls close and into January 6th as more and more results come in, indicating that both the Democrats had won. January 6th is, as you recall, the date that Congress is scheduled to validate the results of the presidential election. There is already talk now that there will be objections raised in Congress as more and more politicians on the right are pressured by Trump and his MAGA followers to protest the results. Just imagine how chaotic the scene will be in Congress on January 6th, just hours after the Democrats win both special elections in Georgia, thereby gaining control of the U.S. Senate. Conservatives will be up in arms that not only did Trump lose the election, but that they're also about to lose control of the U.S. Senate. It is this chaotic scene in the days right after January 6th that will allow an opening for Trump to declare martial law if he so desires, something that Republicans will, by and large, want him to do. As I said in a previous video, Trump is also, right now, looking to get a special counsel to probe alleged election fraud. A special counsel that either new Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen appoints or that Trump believes he can appoint on his own. In a stunning development, there are numerous reports out today that Trump told advisors Friday that he wants to name attorney Sidney Powell as a special counsel to investigate his loss in the 2020 election and to consider seizing voting machines. Powell, a conservative firebrand who represented Michael Flynn in his long-running fight against the criminal charge for lying to the FBI, also has amplified calls for Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act. She strongly supports QAnon and traffics in any number of conspiracy theories that portray Trump as a hero and all who oppose him as evil. Again, look at this man. He is not going to let Biden be sworn in. He is not going to follow the rule of law. He is not going to peaceably leave the White House. He is not ethical or moral in any way. Right now, he is the most powerful man in the world, and he intends to stay that way. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. As always, please be respectful in the comments. Take care.